episode 23 of the Blokebusters podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Brian.
And today we're going to focus on a very little known area of film known as animation.
Yes, I'm excited about this one.
All right, me too.
Yes, we're back in our recording studio after being in my workplace, back to a.k.a. Paul's kitchen, our recording studio.
Yeah, and I must say, even if I do say so myself, it didn't turn out too badly.
The sound,
with sound.
Yeah,
you could hear the odd thing here and there,
but maybe it had some ambient noise, some clinks and some
cracks.
We added those all in post.
Yeah, we might have to go back there again at a later date, just upon moving location here. So yeah, that might become a bit of a permanent feature.
You might have to bring a towel or something to shove under the crack in the door there. I don't know. Anyway, real quick, let's get a little business out of hand here. Some contact info. We are at Blokebusters on the Twitter.
Ooh.
And Facebook.com/Blokebusters if you into the Facebooking more than the Twitter. Yes, and if you would like to write us, blokebusterpodcast@gmail.com. All suggestions, critiques, fan mail, love letters to me. Paul is married, but I'm not.
Well, that doesn't mean I can't get a love letter.
Okay, fair
Maybe
enough.
I'll get Jamie to send one.
All right. And we are on the interwebs now. We are blokebusters.webs.com.
Yes.
Work in progress, but content being revised and added, and it's only going to get better and better.
Yes.
So check it out, see what we have to offer. And also, I'd just like to go ahead and promote once again our buddies' podcast, Voice Activated. Give it a listen. They talk all manner of things. Very bite-sized episodes of podcasty goodness.
Yeah.
The last one was the Hollow Earth theory they covered.
That was the last main one. The one they just released is they're doing Skyrim, but they've broken it up.
I need to refresh my podcast app then, apparently.
Yeah, I managed to listen to that on the way to work today.
All right, on to our podcast.
Oh, do we have to? Let's just talk about other podcasts.
Okay. I love Doug Loves Movies. Okay.
All right. Well, yeah, we were thinking of what to do for this one. There wasn't anything else in the cinema that we really wanted to do. There's a couple coming out soon that we might do, but then we were thinking about it, and the animation style of film is not something that most people go into very much. Obviously, you've got your Pixar, and that's normally up for Best Picture now, so you get people talking about that, but the whole style of animation is not something that's covered very often, so we thought it would be an interesting thing to go into that.
I don't know if I have evidence to support this, but it definitely feels like it doesn't get the credit it deserves from the mainstream.
Yeah.
Or it's regarded as kid fare. It's animated, so it must be a cartoon, so it must placate to the lowest common denominator. And there is that. There's a lot of the direct DVD, like I messaged you earlier, the direct DVD princess videos, number 8, number 9.
The Tinkerbell thing's coming out.
They make it quick, they have all the forms already in the computer.
Yeah.
And they hire somebody to write a script for $200 and it's done.
Yeah, those ones really are, those are the lowest common denominator of the animated film.
And they make money.
Yes,
you agree?
Yes. Yeah, and that's not to say that the animation studios are doing bad work or anything.
No. It's still good animation.
Yeah, it's just that...
Thank you, Koreans. Because it is all outsourced to Korea.
Right. It's just that when it comes to those styles of film, they're typically not the biggest budget script. They're not the hugest amount of effort put into it, and the studio is just doing what it can with what it's been given.
Yeah, and I think, those are the ones that kind of tend to give it a bad name.
Yeah, especially, I was going to save it, but I'll probably go into it now. I am a big fan of anime, which, for those of you who are completely unaware, is the Japanese style of animation. Now, most people, when they hear that, will immediately think of the Pokemon show, the Digimon show.
I just think of fast lines moving, and very stuttered speaking. I challenge you to a fight. That's what I think of.
A lot of those, yes. The English dub is normally not really that.
I spit on you. I spit on your idea of this.
Oh, you killed my uncle.
Let me fly through space for 4 minutes. Posed in air.
Yeah, the sort of thing, Dragon Ball Z, I guess, would be probably the biggest thing that was over here. And everyone sees that and thinks, well, they're kid shows. And then you get the animes that come out, this is going into TV briefly, where you've got to bridge it, you've got the Ghost in the Shell television show. You've got Naruto, which is billed as a kid show over here, but if you actually watch the Japanese version of it with none of the edits done to it, there's some very serious stuff going on there. It's across the board type show, kind of like The Simpsons, as it were. Stuff that is appealing to the adults, stuff that is appealing to the kids. There's loads of things out there it's basically like your regular television show, but it's just animated. It's not people standing there.
Okay.
And
just if you folks are wondering why I'm so quiet, it's because I have nothing to add. I wouldn't say I hate anime. It's just I'm so completely unfamiliar with it.
Yeah.
That I have no usable, intelligent things to say on the subject. My experience is the 1/3 of a Futurama episode.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that was something else I was going to bring up as well. Futurama did it brilliantly, parodying the American style of Japanese animation. And the biggest problem I have is, unfortunately, in my life, we've got my sister who sees all animated TV shows as completely and utterly pointless because they're not real life, so why bother? And then, I know. And
2.5 Men portrays real life.
I know. And then you've got my wife who, when she hears anime, all she thinks of is what is called hentai or hentai, which is the pornographic version.
Now I'm interested. Okay. That's all right. What are some of the titles here?
The unfortunate side of this is that the one television show that she saw that I was watching, it was called Black Blood Brothers. It was a 13-episode series about some vampires who come to a city trying to make a new life for themselves, but there's a secret society of vampires running the whole thing who are against their family, and so, normal, slightly complicated plot. But the only 2 snippets of the show that she saw were the only, and I repeat, only 2 snippets of the show where the main vampire sucks the blood out of the main woman's throat. And the noises she happens to make during this act.
Are they quite love sounds? Sounds of love, maybe?
I think moaning would be the correct thing there.
Pleasurable noises?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, all right. Because maybe I need to give this anime stuff a try.
And so, once again, for the 3rd time, the only times this happened are the only times.
I got it. Okay, I feel like this is a personal grievance.
So yeah.
Back to film.
So most people, when they think of it, the people that aren't acquainted with this style of stuff, that is what they think of. So they give it a miss entirely, which unfortunately means that it's very misrepresented over here and in the UK, which does lead to the anime people almost kind of being shunned a little bit, like, how can you like that? But then you get the fantastic films, and there are huge companies in Japan that are just bringing out beautiful work after beautiful work. For instance, as I said, Ghost in the Shell was a TV show. It was also 2 films and another feature-length film to do with the TV show. And so all of these fantastic looking films. Summer Wars is one which I cannot praise enough. It is a magnificent film, and I'll mention a couple more as we go. And none of these ever get a look in over here. But shall we get back onto more sort of our experiences?
Yeah.
Because growing up, you were saying just before, and you had mentioned before, the first 2 films you saw in the cinema were animated films.
Yeah, which I never really, I knew that, but I didn't really think about it until we did this podcast. Yeah, I saw Nightmare Before Christmas and then The Lion King.
Yeah, and of course, Nightmare Before Christmas is animation. It's stop motion animation. Yeah. It still counts.
Yeah, exactly. And then, Lion King, of course, I don't know if there was that. I believe that was all drawn.
I'm fairly certain it's all hand-drawn at that point. Yeah, they hadn't quite...
That was 94. I believe so. But, both great movies. Yeah. Just on the surface. And then also looked great, I thought. You have that Tim Burton world style, which is just beautiful. And then the very safari, vibrant world of the Lion King.
Yeah, the thing where you realize they really got down the feel of that environment.
And both musicals, really.
Yeah. You cannot say that The Lion King is not a musical.
And
I mean, maybe not quite as musical as the live-action musicals tend to be.
No, I mean,
3 minutes of talking and song.
Yeah, it's more the other way. It's more 3 minutes of song and then a lot of talking.
Yeah,
and then
the way
3
that it
minutes of song. Well, for someone that hates musical theater.
I mean, as a kid, you typically don't want to sit through song after song after song after song after song with a little bit of story in between.
Yeah.
You're more interested in the characters, and then the songs add to it, or don't, depending on your point of view. So I think the Disney films kind of got that down. Yes. In fact, I never think of Disney films as being musicals, like those old things, because for the most part I never really remember the songs, and I just remember the good
Hakuna
stories. Matata. Yes, I do remember there are songs in it, but I don't. Yeah. I never rewatch The Lion King and then don't go, oh yeah, there's more singing in this than I realized.
Yeah, and you have the hyenas. Oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And of course, The Lion King, the best Hamlet remake that there's ever been, I believe. Ever since the first time around.
Yeah, which again is something that will go completely over the heads of most kids watching.
Well, yeah. The brother that kills them, marries the brother. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. All right, so that was my, I guess, introduction, really, on a theater experience. Yeah. Obviously, I had seen cartoons and probably the odd animated film here and there, a lot of Disney stuff and Snow White and Seven Dwarfs, and I don't care what you say, that's a good movie. I like Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. I bought it 10 years ago when they came out with it, on the anniversary, the unsealed the vaults or whatever, and had it's like a 3 or 4 disc DVD set or something, because it's the first to use cell animation, which is also called traditional animation. Yeah,
that is the style that everyone associates with, say, Disney, that type of stuff, and that is what most people will think of when they think of US hand-drawn animation.
And if we're going into preferences, I would say my preference is hand-drawn. Yeah. As beautiful as CG can look, there's just something about Bambi or whatever, where it's not as vibrant, it's not as clear, but I don't know, it's like listening to a record for me. I love listening to albums, and I like the imperfections in there. Yeah. It's just more real to me. That's a weird thing to say when it's a naturally or a completely fabricated world, but that's, I enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, and I do think that, at least at the moment, CG isn't as stunning as hand-drawn can be, but I am completely for the appropriate mix of CG.
Yeah, like I said, I love it all. It's just a preference,
Yeah, so if I had the ultimate choice, I wish everything could look as polished as Japanese animation from one of the major studios in Japan. That style, at least to me, is the best style of animation, and they normally do almost entirely hand-drawn, and then just to give it that extra little pop, some of the aspects of it will be computer generated. Or, for instance, Summer Wars is all hand drawn when it's the people, when it's the real world. But there is the virtual world that is sort of running the place. Everything runs on a specific computer network, and when they have to go in and deal with that is all computer generated imagery, and I think it works really well to show you the different worlds. So that type of thing, bring that on. I want more of that.
I promise you I'll try one of those films.
I would love to.
What would you say is a good Spirited Away, a good introduction?
Spirited Away is a very good introduction, but it's very heavy on the lore. The stuff that you get there. It's very.
I mean, if someone like me, a noob, if you're recommending to a noob or any other anime noobs out there.
Right. I would recommend...
Another film? Or?
Yeah, well, definitely try and go with either a Ghibli film or Summer Wars, as I said. Summer Wars isn't very lore-esque, but you do get to see the culture of Japan. The very much hierarchy of the older people run the place, and the younger people have to look up to them. But if we're going with Ghibli, My Neighbor Totoro and also The Cat Returns are both fantastic. Totoro is kind of slow going, but is just very beautiful, and it's this girl has moved to a new town and finds this spirit called Totoro who sort of helps her to come to terms with the fact that she's in this new place. And The Cat Returns is a very fantastical thing of the main woman saves the life of a cat, and it turns out the cat is the prince in the cat world, and she is brought to the cat world by the king to marry him, and all of this stuff, and hilarity ensues. I mean, it sounds somewhat out there, and most anime has those aspects to it, but They are a joy to just sit down and watch. Like, you can lose yourself in the world of that type of thing. So if you're going to go into that, I would recommend those types of films. And then if you like that, go with your Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, and I believe it's called Grave of the Fireflies. That is a very depressing film. So save that to last.
Really quickly, I don't know if I missed it or not, but I'm naive on this. What exactly, explain to the listeners, what is a Ghibli film?
Ghibli is a company. It's called Studio Ghibli.
Okay, so it all has to be made by the studio. It's not a style of film. Essentially.
A Ghibli film will have almost exclusively someone called Miyazaki directing it.
Okay.
I think about 90% of them had been Hayao Miyazaki, and he was the guy that basically runs the stuff. But his son has been taking over now, so you can kind of tell when the son is doing it, but it's always so much care is taken into making these films that they're just a joy to watch. Porco Rosso as well.
Now, are there like other things that have a niche market? Are there studios that try to emulate or kind of ride on their coattails? If, you know.
There are some studios that kind of feel similar.
Okay.
But
not directly trying to rip it off.
No, not necessarily, no. There's very much, they're their own thing. Production IG are another studio. They did the Ghost in the Shells. They also did, to bring it over here, the Mass Effect Paragon Lost film. That was a Production IG thing. And also on Netflix, if you're interested, The Sky Crawlers. That one's a Production IG, and that's another CG mixed with hand-drawn stuff. And I would urge everyone listening to try and give it a chance, because I know that some people are put off by maybe it's not your Disney style at all. It's normally a lot lighter feeling. The only other one that I would recommend to everyone but you would be The Girl Who Leapt Through Time.
Okay.
I know you're aversion to time travel.
Okay, alright. Anyway, shall we transition to maybe more popular? I don't know if popular is that word, but
mainstream.
Mainstream, I guess, was the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Let's delve into the world of Pixar. Well, how about that? It's
yeah, sure.
Pixar. Their films always look incredible, whether there's a great story or not. John Lasseter, I believe his name, does a great job directing most of those. I think he directs most of them, if not all of them.
I know that Brad Bird directed. Not only The Iron Giant, which, I'm not going into it all now, but also Finding Nemo. He was the guy behind that.
Spoiler alert, they find Nemo. Sorry, folks.
However, at some point in the 10 years since the film, they have somehow lost Dory, so that's going to be the next one. And I know it started off as
she's pretty stupid, so she's, find herself being
we
lost.
thought she was getting better. She's not quite dead.
They're going to find her on the carpet flopping around.
I thought I could breathe.
They took a different turn in the alternate ending.
How do we get onto that? Anyway.
Like I say, I will go out there and I say I love all three of the Toy Story films.
Yeah,
I think they're great. Yeah. I think two is better than one. I think three is better than two.
I don't know which I prefer.
And if you do not cry in three, you do not have a soul. You do not have a soul. Let me guess. Come on, when he gives his toys away, he's going off to college.
I cannot remember if I mentioned this before, but there was a fantastic article filled with twists that films should have had, and there was one for Toy Story 3 where everything that happens after you see them link hands in the furnace is in the head of Woody. They don't get rescued.
Bummer. All right.
Which, come on, I think if Pixar were ever going to go the horror film route, that would have been a fantastic start.
Yeah. But I will say, whether you love the movie or not, if you want to just watch something amazing, if you have a large television and you have a Blu-ray player, Cars, Finding Nemo, whatever, Cars looks amazing. And the races and the world is so vibrant and alive.
I'm sure it does. I still.
You don't like the film Cars?
I watched the first 20 minutes of it and had to stop. I couldn't get into it. Nothing against the studio. It's just what they were trying to do was not for me, I think.
No, I mean, I'm not saying I'm completely in love with the story. I'm just saying from looks point, it looks spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
Super colorful. The blues and the reds and the yellows are just popping everywhere.
Yeah, they really know what they're doing. And each film, same studio, obviously, each film, but they all seem to have their own kind of style. Like Nemo is, because it's in the ocean, it's always a sort of very slightly dark type palette to it, except when you see the outside of Australia. Up in the air there, it's very bright, but everything else, there's always that somewhat dark tint to it.
Oh, and you just said a great word there, up. Be remiss if we didn't mention that film.
Yeah,
not only looks great, but one of the best movies I think I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and that, I was saying to you before, the opening of Up should have been shown, one of the shorts shown before one of the other films. And then Up should have been like sort of the sequel to that short that made you bawl your eyes out.
Yeah. And once again, if you don't bawl it up, you have no soul. You are cold and dead and you are a Grinch. And leave me alone.
Yeah, there may possibly have been some dust in the theatre.
Yes.
Not necessarily a tear or two, just some dust.
It's funny, it's got heart, it's great.
Up is definitely, I would say Up is the most serious film I've seen from Pixar.
It is, yeah.
I mean, everything that happens in
as serious as you can with the talking dogs.
Yes, the cone of shame.
Squirrel!
which, Pixar, you did well in picking that up. I mean, so it's one of those things that you find a comedian that has a bit, and it's like, how did I never realize that this is something that we do in real life? It's like, yeah, that is most dogs. The second there's a flit or something, okay, back to where.
But yeah, great. I could go on and on about Up, but moving onwards and upwards, if we will. What world of animation would you like to delve into next?
Well, we
got the crossovers we could talk about. There are the claymation.
Well, let's stick with entirely animation, and we'll go with claymation.
Yes, I love.
So obviously, the ones that America's going to be most used to would be. Well, I was going to say obviously Nightmare Before Christmas would be Corpse Bride. So Tim Burton's done well in bringing that in. There have been resurgent recently. You've got Frankenweenie was one, Paranorman again, and as you were saying, Wallace and Gromit from Over the Pond, as it were. Yeah, and most people don't realise as well, Wallace and Gromit was 3 short films before that. And then they made The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, which most people say was done well, but wasn't necessarily the best film. And then they also did another one, which I don't know if it ever got released over here, called A Matter of Loaf and Death, where they open a bakery. And that one was better than Curse of the Were-Rabbit. It's a much better story, shorter, so sort of back to their roots. They were able to tell the full story in less time. So that's sort of my knowledge of claymation. I know that you had a couple...
I want to just bring one film to everyone's attention that it is on Netflix. It's been in my queue for like 2 years, and I've watched it probably 4 times. It's something that I can kind of drift in and out of. It's called Mary and Max.
Right.
I'm not even going to read the synopsis because I don't want to give. Sometimes those just miss the point. Yeah. But it is really a story of unlikely friendship between an American Max. He's shut in pretty much, doesn't venture out, agoraphobic, has Asperger's, and this Australian girl Mary. And they become pen pals, and she has a weird birthmark, and she's an outsider, and they're both very much outsiders, but they find a common ground.
Right.
And, this pretty much a lifelong friendship for Mary. And it's so charming and so well done. It's funny. It does make you tear up if, you are the soul inhabiting, your soul, possessing person. It's directed by Adam Elliott. I don't really know his work, but you have Toni Collette and Philip Seymour Hoffman, Eric Bana doing voices.
Right.
Those are the big ones people are going to recognize. But it's a great film. And don't... okay, well, I'm not going to say anymore because... I was going to say don't lash out at me, but... it's worth it, okay? Watch it. It's a slower-paced film.
Right.
But it is this correspondence back and forth, and then... the worlds they inhabit, switching back between New York and I forget where she's at. Maybe it's Wales, maybe it's Sydney. I don't know, but somewhere down there. Where
Australia.
they speak funny.
Yeah.
So check that one out. You more than likely won't be disappointed.
All right.
And if you are, go. You know where you can go. So, all right, let's want to do some crossover.
Yeah, sure. Let's walk into.
Let's see a mixture of what I'm calling a mixture of live action and animation.
Yeah, and not necessarily specifically live action. Cut to entirely animation.
No, not like Kill Bill, where they have an animation or anime scene for like 17 minutes or something.
Yeah. Which again, Production IG did that one as well.
Did it? Oh, I love that whole sequence. Yeah. That's amazing.
And I also think Production IG did one of the. If you ever got the Animatrix thing, which I would say for most people they will enjoy that more than they enjoyed the second two films. Production IG did one of those, as well as several other companies went in and did those, and those all look really good. Especially you finally get the backstory on what happened for the robots overtaking Earth, as it were. So.
But I think we're more referring to on screen at the same time live actors and animated characters.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say the one that I grew up, I think the only one I ever saw until relatively recently would be Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That one would be...
Should we spoiler alert Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
The butler.
Yes, that is correct. He buttles. I buttle.
Shall we?
I think it's been out long enough.
All right,
why don't you
Doc
give
Brown.
it away? Doc Brown. He was in that? Doc Brown? Okay.
Yeah, and there is a twist in it which, if you're really paying attention to the plot, you can probably see coming. But
and if you're a perv like me, folks, Jessica Rabbit is not wearing underwear in a part. There you go, folks.
I'm fairly certain if I recall, they have fixed that in all...
Oh, you have to have an old copy, folks.
Yeah, you have to have the VHS, just like the old VHS of The Rescuers, I believe it is. But, yeah.
Hey, come on, Jessica Rabbit, that's a woman there. Come on. Whether she's real or not. All right, let's see.
Yes, she's not bad, she's just drawn that way.
Oh, well played, sir. Well played. Yes, but that was obviously my main experience.
Yeah,
there's
definitely.
a much more obscure film most people won't know called Cool World.
I'd never heard of this one.
Okay, I've just introduced this to Paul before we started recording. It stars a little-known actor by the name of Brad Pitt.
Yeah, definitely little known at the time.
I have seen it once. I probably should see it again, but it is weird. And I don't know whether that means I liked it or not. But I think it's probably entertaining just to go back and look at some of his earlier work.
Right. Well, it definitely left an impression on you if you were frantically trying to find out the name.
Yeah, I could not recall it. I mean, it's times of the year I remember it, and then there's other times like, what the hell is that movie called? But find it. I'm sure it's going to be even invest half an hour and then shut it off if it's just completely dretch for you. But it has some interesting moments. I do recall some things that happen.
And then you've also got Monkey Bone. That's
Monkey Bone,
somewhat less known one. I didn't know anything about it until my wife introduced me to it. She was always a big Brendan Fraser fan growing up, so that's probably why
that's who his fan is.
Okay, I didn't think it was too bad in the Mummy films. I kind of enjoyed those.
Encino Man.
I don't know if I've seen that one. Yeah, I actually enjoyed
Pauly Shore and Sean Astin. Come on.
Well, maybe I should look into that as well.
Link. Come on.
So many of these. But that's another one where he is a cartoonist and his drawing comes to life and wants to take over, basically. So he has to deal with that. And there is some of he goes down to the cartoon world, but I'm fairly certain he's still live action in that. So I always find it very interesting in the things of people interacting with cartoon stuff, and in that world that's what happened. That's how it is.
Yeah.
And what is it? Last Action Hero even sort of pokes fun at that, where the kid goes into the Arnold Schwarzenegger action thing, and to prove that it's a film, he points out, look, an animated cat just walked into this police station and nobody cares. And Arnold Schwarzenegger said, of course he did. He's one of our best officers.
I just like with Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I love the cartoon rules of that world. That world.
Well, at the time, especially with those studios, those rules are very much in place. That's always how these characters acted. Mm-hmm. So if they were in the real world, why would they act any differently? So that was a fantastic use of that in the storytelling. I thought, like the scene where the bad guy is trying to get Roger Rabbit out in the open. And so he does the one thing that no tune in the world can resist. He starts doing the shave and a haircut, do bits. I didn't realise that was ever a thing in cartoon, but I can only imagine back in sort of the heyday of that style of cartoon, that was probably one of those things that was just in it. Yeah, like shaving a haircut. I had no idea what that was before I saw that film. I'd never heard of it, and then it's just in this film. It's like, okay, sure, let's go with it.
This is out there, but has anyone ever played the Nintendo game Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
No,
that gets so insanely difficult. If anyone has beaten that, please tell me how. I still have the cartridge.
Oh, nice.
But it's fun, and you get like chased by the cops, all that stuff. And
yeah, some of those old games.
It's fun. It's like it's kind of a mystery. You're investigating things, and yeah, it's fun. But yeah. Moving along.
Yes, moving along.
I wanted to bring up, we kind of debated whether or not we could technically consider it animation, but it's a work originally by Philip K. Dick, one of the masters of science fiction, called A Scanner Darkly, about Big Brother's ever-growing presence in our lives, and how every minute of our lives is now documented. Pretty much. There are cameras on us at all times. Yeah. But that was, it's the film with Robert Downey Jr. and Woody Harrelson, Winona Ryder, which they filmed live action.
Yeah, they filmed a large part of that in live action, if not all of it. Mm-hmm. And then they, through a process called rotoscoping, did a thing where they basically drew over what it was on every frame.
So everyone looks exactly like themselves.
Yeah. So they drew over it in a very stylized fashion, and then they removed the original footage.
But the world, it's a great use. I don't know, it just makes the world look very cool. And it looks like a music video or something,
And it's another, kind of the Take On Me.
Exactly where I was going to go with that. Yeah, the aha.
And especially with the suit they put on so that they can't tell who you are. And you could say it's animation in a way that it allowed them to go further than they would have ever been able to live action. Yeah. Because, for instance, the scramble suit thing, if you actually think about it, all it would be is someone putting a big black bag over their head and putting a voice modulator on the thing. Where in this, it scrambles facial features and voice patterns and it's stuff that wouldn't really be at all realistic. Yeah. And then they were able to go down with that, and then very stylistic shots and everything in it. And I had to watch that as one of my film studies courses, and I was so glad I did.
I saw the trailers for that originally. I thought, this looks kind of stupid. And at that time, I wasn't really familiar with Philip K. Dick. Right. And I've become really well acquainted now with a lot of his work. But, that looks kind of dumb. But I think, I ended up... Oh, it was because I worked in the theater that I saw that. Yes, I was like, that's here. I'll see it. And loved it. I mean, and the animation, it lets you get away with a little more things. You accept, I think... As a viewer, you accept more things or more possibly reprehensible actions or outlandish things because there's a little bit more distance between you and the character. Yeah,
you're not necessarily seeing yourself exactly in their shoes. You're more seeing, I'm kind of like that guy. I could.
Yeah, but he's he's drawn. That's Woody Harrelson drawn. Oh, he's so great.
Woody Harrelson.
The stolen bike and the.
Woody Harrelson's really becoming one of those guys that you just love to see in a film now. Obviously he's always been a good actor and everything, but he seemed to be getting all of these.
Oh yeah, he'll come in and do like one scene in a film, and that's the scene everyone talks about or remembers.
Well, what did you think of him in The Hunger Games then? In the film you hated.
He was one of the watchable parts of that film. There we go. And if Jennifer Lawrence didn't look like Jennifer Lawrence, then I would have just fast forwarded to all of the Woody Harrelson scenes.
Yes.
But, yes. An hour and 18 minutes, isn't it? Or an hour and 8 before they get to someone dying. Oh my God! It's called the Hunger Games. It's kids killing kids, and you have 2/3 of it is setup.
Yeah.
Where you have Battle Royale, which is a well done Japanese film. A kid dies in like the first 3 minutes. Horribly. He's like blown up or something.
Nice. Oh.
Like by the teacher or by the instructor or whatever that's orientation expert, whatever that's telling them how the game's going to go or whatever. Right. Yeah. He tries to leave. I think he's the one that tries to leave or something, and they have like a little detonator things. Kablooey, or whatever has our
nice.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, have you seen the trailer for the second one? Because she ends up back in the Hunger Game.
Catching fire. Hopefully the film catches fire and then no one gets to see it.
Well,
I'm going to watch it though.
Oh yeah, you're gonna.
If you're gonna bitch about something, you have to be knowledgeable on it.
Yeah, that is again getting back to my semi-rant. That is the thing that annoys me so much about people that will just trash on anime. Mm-hmm. Is that they sort of say, "Oh, it's for kids and all this," and you're going, "So what have you watched?" "Oh, I don't need to see it." Like,
yeah,
fuck you.
It's not like knowing the oven's hot. You don't need to touch it. No, you don't know if you don't like it.
Yeah, that would be like someone saying, "Firefly is a piece of shit." Have you seen it? No.
Where is this person? Show me this person, Paul. Who said it? I need name and address.
Luckily, I have never met anyone that has said those words that has.
Because I don't think they're dumb enough to say it to either one of us.
Yeah, already, bro. Okay, really.
Serenity now. Pun intended. Yes.
And center.
You can't take the sky from me.
No, sir.
All right, that wasn't lame.
Maybe we should introduce any naysayers to the chain of command.
Yes. But unfortunately, that is not animated. Although I would love to see an animated rendition of that.
Yeah,
wouldn't that be nice? A series? Or
that would be any more.
Any more
Right,
with Mal. Any more Mal, I'm okay with more Mal.
I want to, at some point, see there is a graphic novel that was released bridging the end of Firefly with the beginning of Serenity, where you see the Hand of Blue guys, you see what happened to them, and you see what brings, I can't remember his name, the assassin guy. He gets brought in, so I know it bridges that.
Yes. Okay, yes. As always, we set out to talk about one thing, and we end up talking about our favorite TV shows.
Well, I guess we should go into then. What would you say is your favorite animated film?
It's tough because I hate picking favorites.
Okay.
But as far as I think that stood the test of time, I mean, it's not super old, but The Iron Giant, directed by Brad Bird.
Yeah.
And it's, I think, the only film I will ever enjoy that will stars both Vin Diesel and Jennifer Aniston. I think that's the only film I can safely say I'll like that will contain both of them.
Right, fair enough.
Yeah.
I must say, for whatever reason, I don't share your hatred of Vin Diesel. I sort of enjoy seeing him in the role.
You see his great many faces of acting.
Oh, come on. He's
still
more expressive than Kristen Stewart. Come on.
That's saying which ocean is wetter. Come on.
If you watch enough of his films, you do realize he is more expressive than Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, but she has made some good films. I don't know.
True.
I think. I mean, Adventureland was good. Into the Wild was very good.
Yes, I cannot say that she has never made a good
She's very charming in Into the Wild. Her part in that. The guitarist. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, right. Yeah, so...
Right.
What the... Iron Giant. We are who we choose to be. That's, kind of the takeaway from that. Right. Along with the undertone of militarism. If you don't understand it, kill it kind of mentality. Kill it, destroy it.
Yeah.
Fear the unknown, rather than get to know it. Right. But, it's, for anyone unfamiliar, it's 1999. So it's, like I said, it's not super old. No, but, I was 17 at that time. I didn't really come across it till about 3 or 4 years later.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, kiddie stuff. I had that mentality. Yeah. But, it's just this, once again, like a lot of animated films are great stories of friendships, unlikely friendships, seems to be themes.
Yeah.
A young boy living with a single mother. And robot alien, probably from the moon. So I hear. Crash lands, in the world. He's a huge Iron Giant, wouldn't you know it?
Yeah.
And who the hell knows where they got the title?
I know. A giant Iron Man.
Yes. Well, that I think was the book. The Giant Iron Man, or the Iron Man, or no, it was the Yeah,
Well,
the giant Iron Man, I believe.
I
Not
say,
the Iron Man. Yes,
I
yes, yes.
say,
I think they might have some
the
copyright issues with that, but
yeah. No, we have a the
at the front. No, it was something. It was man. No, not human or something. I don't know. Look it up, people. I forget. But anyway, it's the robot has kind of forgotten who he is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And, the lesson is, well, you are who you want to be. And it's kind of follows. I love it because it has a lot of superhero lore in it, a lot of comic book lore in it. Well, and it does follow a certain pattern of a certain superhero. Yeah.
I think
like the most famous of superheroes.
I was going to say there's a very direct reference to that in the film.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as what he learns and as he acquires things, I won't go any deeper than that if you haven't seen it. But it's extremely charming, extremely touching. There are funny moments. Yeah. But it's this friendship. This giant is like a 5-year-old. I think the kid even says at one point, and teaches him word and that guns are bad and NRA send your hate mail. But it's an awesome movie. It looks great. It's just, I don't know, it reminds me, it looks like it's an animated film that should have been in like the 80s or early 90s. It doesn't have the super polished Pixar look, which I love if I'm in the mood for that. But it does. It is a great looking film, and it's a well written film.
It kind of seemed like it's from the same kind of studio that did, say, the Lord of the Rings animated thing, but with more polished stuff, as you say, and the odd CG bit here and there. So that is a very good animated film, and probably one of the best bridging kids and adult animation.
Yeah, I would say, it's definitely perfect family film. A kid can enjoy it, and a parent isn't going to be bored to tears, watching Shark Tale 6 or something.
I am shocked they haven't come out with more Shark Tale.
Well, it seemed like that followed too closely on Nemo, wasn't it? Was that Disney or?
Ooh, no, I think Shark that one's a DreamWorks.
DreamWorks, okay, yeah. That was enjoyable, but it was no Finding Nemo. That's
it's
always going to have the comparison. 2 underwater, animated films within like a year or whatever it was.
Yeah. All right,
well, what is your favorite, sir? And we'll let the good people go.
All right, well, I had real trouble picking this one because there's the different styles that I like so much that I had trouble bringing it down. And I will say I've narrowed it down to my favorite Japanese animated film is Summer Wars, which I said before roughly what it is. The basic story is this guy kind of has a crush on the girl at school, and out of the blue she asks him to come to her family house for this weekend retreat. And on the way there, he finds out that she has told everyone that she is engaged, and he is to be her fake fiancé. And so he's having to deal with that while meeting her very extensive family, and they're all basically going because of the matriarch of the family. Like, she's having a big celebration. I think she's turning a particular age or something, and it's a fantastically drawn film. The atmosphere is brilliant. You really get to see what these types of families are like, and then this thing starts to corrupt and invade this virtual world which runs most of the systems. Like, it runs all the traffic lights, it runs all the stuff at hospitals, it's running their banking system, and this AI is slowly taking this thing over. And of course the introverted shy guy is a bit of a computer whiz, and you find out it's actually kind of his fault. And so he has to kind of put it right, as it were, while trying to pretend to be this fiancé and having to deal with all this stuff. And so it's a wonderful film. And my favorite US animation, I'm going to say, I will probably go with Finding Nemo is my favorite one based on how it looks. But The Emperor's New Groove is my favourite, just because of how funny I find that film. I enjoy watching that film in a much different way than I enjoy watching Finding Nemo. Those are sort of the different sides of the spectrum for me in my film watching stuff. Finding Nemo is just such a fantastically polished film. The Emperor's New Groove is just fun.
That's fair enough.
So I had to separate those two when it comes to US animation. But my favourite animated film overall, Summer Wars. Definitely. That style wins out.
All right. I think we just just throw out a few little factoids. I think probably on the world of animation. Just if you're interested, go ahead, Paul. With what is regarded as the I believe the only surviving oldest surviving animated film.
Surviving animated film
feature
film. Yeah, I should say, because obviously there are short films and stuff. But this is considered the first full length animated film. It's called Adventures of Prince Ahmed. Now, this was, I think, I remember correctly from when we were looking, it's about 10 or so years after what most people would consider the first film, but of course we don't have any.
They were European or something. Yeah, all European. But they are all lost.
I think they're all French films, which doesn't surprise me, given that's where cinema really came from.
Yeah, the first to release.
Yeah, and of course, people will say, well, what about Voyage to the Moon, where it's got a considerable amount? Like, you could argue along the same lines as maybe Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like there's a live action mixed with that, but these were the animated fully.
Yes, look into it. They used some really creative techniques before cell animation existed, including like cardboard cutouts. And,
Hello, South Park.
Certain show, a lot of other interesting techniques. But so that was the first one. But then, like we mentioned already, a lot of people consider Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs as the first animated film, but because it used the traditional technique of cell animation.
The first full feature length animated film to use cell.
Yeah, then the first time an animated film got some love from the Academy.
Yeah, it was nominated for Best Picture in, I believe it was 1991, Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Lost out to Silence of the Lambs, very understandably so, I would say.
That's a tough, it's a tough pull to put that over Silence of the Lambs.
So that was the first time any animated film was ever up for a Best Picture. I don't think it was the first one to be up for like maybe best soundtrack or anything like that, but definitely the first time it was up for a major Oscar, as it were. And then the first one that was up for its own category.
Yeah, the first time the category was created.
Academy Award for Animated Picture. And the first winner of that was Shrek.
Yes, in 2001.
Yeah. And that was up against
Monsters Inc.
Monsters Inc., which I personally think should have won, but again, that's my... Yes, I know you weren't really a fan.
Billy Crystal. Ugh. Outside of the Princess Bride.
Yeah. And I can't remember what the other one is. And of course,
Jimmy Neutron or something? Or
oh, yes. Jimmy Neutron, Boy Wonder.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Or Jimmy Wonder and Boy Neutron. Something like that. Yeah.
And then, of course, let's just cut up to now. The one that currently owns the latest Oscar would be Brave. And that one was up against Wreck-It Ralph, which we wanted to win. But...
Yes, we'd be remiss not to mention Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah. But
one of the finest animated films I've seen. Well, I guess since Up. Which isn't too terribly long ago,
but of course I do recognise why Brave won, because if they're going for overall, I mean, just
I have not seen it yet, but I will.
The polish of Brave is above and beyond Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh yeah,
but yeah. I did prefer Wreck-It Ralph.
Well, Wreck-It Ralph had a lot of video game world to emulate, so a lot of times they had to go pixelated or...
Yeah, and that one was more...
Which I love the pixelated stuff they did in there, which was awesome.
The styles they did was fantastic, which is why I thought they should win. They were able to go the gambit. Yeah. But, yeah, I can see why Brave won. Technically...
It'll be on Netflix sometime, and I'll check it out. But
yeah.
And if you're jonesing for some animated films now, your choices are Turbo or Planes. Not anything I'll speak for myself. I'm particularly interested in seeing.
I'm sure Turbo I'll see one day. Planes I probably won't.
Yeah, so those are your current choices, really, other than I don't know, Smurfs has live.
I say no to that one. That's another Who Framed Roger Rabbit type thing.
Yeah.
It's not even animated with live action, it's just CG with live action. So that one's too far removed, I think. And I have a Netflix recommendation.
Oh, do you? And perhaps, what is yours?
Well, mine is sort of going with the Firefly theme. There is a documentary that turned up there, and for those of you that have not seen Firefly that are listening, watch it watch it again, and then come back to this.
And then watch Serenity. Make sure you watch Serenity.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, watch Serenity, watch Firefly again.
And then watch Serenity again.
Send off numerous emails to Fox, letting them know what it is.
Yes, let them know, when was this cancelled?
And then get to this. It's called Done the Impossible. And it features interviews with so many browncoats, which, if you don't know the show, that is what fans of the show generally consider themselves, as well as the cast of the show, as well as interviews with Joss Whedon and some of the people that made the show, and even, randomly, the author of Ender's Game, who turns out is a Firefly fan. So,
all right.
So it's just a fantastic thing, and most of it, my wife decided to rib me about, most of it is interviews with the fans about how much they like Firefly, how they enjoy it, what they did with it. But overall, it's a story of the show, that what happened at the time it got cancelled, what happened just after it, and the fact that a film got made from this 14 episodes cancelled season turned into a universal picture. And that is what they specifically are talking about when it's done the impossible. But yeah, it's so far it's a fantastic thing. I've got maybe 10 minutes left of it, but yeah, just go see it if you are a Firefly fan of any caliber, which I know you are. So you better be putting it in your queue right now.
What I was writing it down. What is it called again, sir?
Done the Impossible.
Done.
Yeah.
D-O-N-E. Done the Impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which is again a reference to a line in the show.
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course. No need to tell me that. But I don't know why it wasn't registering with me. Do I have anything? You know what? Catch up on Breaking Bad, people. New episodes every Sunday. Yeah. They're up to date on season 5 in there.
I was going to say, I had the first one recorded in my DVR, and I am 3 episodes in on Netflix of that season. Yeah. I need to finish it.
We have something to watch on Sundays again, people. Thank you. Now that Walking Dead is on hiatus for 8 weeks. I'm going to enjoy every week, though. All right. That's going to do it for me.
All right. Yeah, and, of course, normally we try and come up with something funny here,
yes,
but we're drawing a blank.
So. Yes, ourselves are drawing a blank.
Yeah.
All right. I've been Brian.
And I've been Paul.
Next time, folks.
Bye.